Have you ever wondered if it's actually worth spending a lot of money on such a professional push block, or if you can build one yourself that works just as well? Well, in this video I built lots of different push blocks, and in the end I have a clear suggestion and recommendation for you which ones work best and if you should actually buy this or not. Hi and welcome, I'm Andreas. On this channel I build all kinds of stuff for my shop and for my home. I try to become a better woodworker along the way, and I share with you what I learned on most of my projects. So if you want to improve your skills yourself, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you won't miss any future videos. One more thing, I'd like to say a very big thank you to a guy called Stefan who sent me these pliers from my Amazon wish list. Thanks a lot to you, I very much appreciate it. So I've got a couple of pieces for different bottoms, and I've got a couple of plywood pieces for the handles, and this is also going to be a handle. And now I'm going to lay out the different shapes of the handles for them to be cut out. Laid out the handles and drilled some holes in the corners of the future cutouts, and I drilled the holes for the dowels. I'm going to attach these handles to the bottom pieces using dowels only because I don't want any metal parts in these push blocks. After all, a push block can accidentally get into a blade, and so it's a better idea, I think, to have them all of wood so that a blade doesn't get damaged once a push block accidentally touches the blade. So I drilled the dowel holes, and I drilled them before I did all the cutting because some of these handles will have angles in them, and once these angles are cut, the dowel holes would have been much harder to drill. So now it's over to the bandsaw for doing all the cutouts, and then I'm going to round over all the edges so that they're nice and smooth to the touch. So when I did another round of rough testing, I realized that the handles had been much too high, and it didn't feel good to grab them so far off the surface. So I cut them short a little bit, but that of course meant that I cut away the dowel holes that I had already drilled, and the advantage that I had talked to you about earlier about drilling the dowel holes before the cutoffs were made was gone. But luckily I have kept the offcuts, so now I can use the offcuts to put it under them, under the handle, and still have a good rest for drilling out the holes, which some of which are gone completely, and some, like these, are just not deep enough. So I'm going to re-drill them and use the offcuts, and hopefully that's going to work. Now the handles are done with a nice round over and a little sanding with 240 grit so that they're smooth to the touch. I didn't make them too fancy, they're push blocks after all and not a piece of furniture. Now the handles, as I said, are finished, and now I turn my attention to the bases, which will have different styles with some with drop heels, some with a little notch in it, some with different layers of sticky or gritty material. So that's what I'm going to do next. Now all the pieces are built, and now I'm going to apply some different surface materials to the underside. I'm going to use 80 grit sandpaper on a couple of them, those which are going to be used for milling and on the jointer, because that's going to be used on rough wood surfaces. And I've got a gripping material here which is supposed to have extra grip, which is kind of rubbery, to be used on smooth surfaces. Then those which have this hook, they're just going to be blank, because they are not going to need any gripping material. And then I'm going to test which materials and which styles work best in which situation. Okay, now it's time for testing. First I'm going to test on the bandsaw by resawing a couple of pieces. I have this rather flat and smooth surface with hardwood, which I'm going to resaw, and I have this larger piece of a beam which I'm also going to cut slices of and see which of the push blocks is working best in this context. Okay, on the bandsaw, for me the results are clear. The sandpaper works very well, and it works best on rough surfaces, as you would expect. So when sawing this piece, for example, and especially on this surface, which is very rough, The sandpaper had really good grip and it didn't slip at all. The grip material, the rubber, slipped on this because obviously the surface was too rough and it didn't grip to enough spaces or spots. The grip material, the rubbery stuff, worked best on smooth surfaces, and then I could push very easily and without any slippage. The one with the hook at the end didn't work very well at all for me. I found it to be awkward to be looking at the hook all the time and trying not to slip over the edge with it, and that made the whole movement kind of awkward. So I wouldn't use the one with the hook on the bandsaw. One thing about the one with the rubber, I think this will deteriorate over time because you can see already that there's sawdust sticking to it, and I will have to see if I can get this clean again. And if I do, I'm sure it's going to work all right. But if I can't get it clean again, then obviously I'd have to replace the rubber from time to time, because the more sawdust sticks to it, the less grippy it will be. Finally, the grip block. This worked very well in all situations, both on smooth and on rough, and there was no slippage and it really felt secure. Now for the jointer. On the jointer I used 4 different push blocks. First I used the rubbery stuff with the drop heel here. I used the 80 grit sandpaper. Then the hook heel with this little handle on top, which is only for the end because you just can push forward, you don't push down. And I used the professional grip block. I think the best combination was the one with the hook and the handle on top at the end, and a rubbery one at the front. So pushing down here and pushing from the back. And it seemed to me that either this one with my own rubbery stuff and the grip block were both equally good. I found that this one, which I copied basically from Frank Howarth, I'll link to it in the description. This is best for the back because you don't tend to push down, and obviously on the jointer you want to push down on the front so that you have a smooth surface, and if you push down at the back you might get an uneven surface. So this one is good because all you do is hook at the end and then you gently push forward, and with the other one, either this one with the rubber or this one, you push down at the front. This one with the drop heel is more flexible because obviously you can use it at the back as well. The one with the sandpaper worked fairly well as well, but I had the impression that the rubbery stuff had a bit more grip. But on rough wood, like on this one, I used the sandpaper would be good as well. So what's the conclusion? For me, the conclusion is like this. If you only have a bandsaw and you use the push block for resawing, you probably want some rubbery stuff at the bottom. You don't need the drop heel, so all you have to make is a piece of wood, a handle, and some of that grip rubber at the bottom. That should probably be enough. If you have a jointer as well, then a push block with 80 grit sandpaper will do fairly well on rough surfaces. The rubbery stuff will work as well, but will probably get worse with more and more sawdust sticking to it. And with a little more effort you can add this drop heel, which is just a piece of plywood and a long hole that I drilled and a little stop here that I glued at the top. So that push block will improve, that drop heel will improve the pushing when you use it at the end. And it can be taken out if you use it for the bandsaw, for example. So this would be the most flexible one. Rubbery stuff at the bottom and a removable drop heel at the end. If you want to make the effort and you do a lot of jointing, then I think this type of push block is worth building. It will probably not break, or you will probably not ruin it in any way. So if you build it, it will last for a long time. I thought that pushing with this from the back at the jointer actually was the best experience when combined with the rubbery one at the front. So the big question, do you need this? Is it worth the 40 euros that it costs over here, or whatever it may cost in your place? I think if you can afford the 40 euros, this is probably the best combination that you can get. It has drop heel if you want, but they can also be taken out of place, out of the way. It has a very good grippy rubbery material at the bottom, which also has these studs. So it's kind of a combination of the 80 grit sandpaper and rubber. It is very good make quality, so the handle is good and everything. So if you don't want to build them yourself, this is a very good thing. It's probably not worth 40 euros, but well, you have to decide. And if you have to build your own, I think with this one and rubbery material and the drop heel, you can come fairly close to the professional one. But you have to be prepared to remove the rubber now and then and attach some new one, because it's going to fill up with sawdust and then it'll probably lose grip. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned as much as I did. Most of the ideas here didn't come from me. I gleaned them from other makers, and I'll put all the links to all the different build videos and even some more in the description for you to check out. So that's it for today. If you want to become a better woodworker and learn along with me, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the next video. I hope you're having a good day. Take care. See you then. Bye bye.